Hi guys, it's Lorraine. Today I want to do a review for you of the Trick or Tarot deck by Duck Soup Productions. Doug Thornsjo, in his creative genius, always creates such charming decks, and this one is going to be no exception. I absolutely adore this deck. It's just the 15th day of Halloween, so you still have time to get it for the season if you would like. Okay, so here's the beautiful box. It's in that real rubbery, gorgeous matte finish, so it's real nice to the touch. It's very sturdy, but it is just a tuck box. It's not a two-piece, just FYI. It also comes with its own little white book. Real basic meanings in there, nothing out of the ordinary. It does have a couple of spreads at the end. The haunted house spread and the Halloween tree spread for you to try out. And other than that, like I said, I mean, your meanings are just kind of, just kind of basic, okay? Hard to see a little bit with the light I have coming through here, but I assure you, you're going to love this deck. So let's talk about one of the first things I always look at, the backs of the deck, reversible, okay? So real charming in that way, but it's also really nice cardstock. So it is a little bit rigid, but it's real easy to riffle shuffle. It's a beautiful matte finish. Okay, so we get a little bit of light, but I'm having a real bad lighting day today. The images are just absolutely charming. Oops, we got the star upside down there. So it's really nice to the touch. Like I said, it glides beautifully, and I'll show you when I do a reading for you, but it glides beautifully. So it's a gorgeous deck to the touch. Everything about it is super charming, even the borders and the little colors and the images. I want to show you a couple of the cards that I absolutely adore more than anything. It's Rider Waite Smith based, although there's a little crossover to the Thoth deck as well. So at first I was, to be honest, a little bit thrown off. So if you're a Rider Waite Smith person and that's the style that you really want to stick with, there are a couple of things that are going to throw you about this deck that are it's not an exact clone. So it's part of what's really enjoyable about the deck, but also something that might give you pause and take you just a moment to interpret. All right, so I want to show you just a couple of the differences, starting with the Major Arcana, because like I said, it's not a Rider Waite Smith clone, and you're going to see nods to Thoth throughout. Thoth, how do we say that? Tahote. Okay, beginning with number 8 for what we would usually associate with Justice in the Rider Waite Smith deck, is called Adjustment here in this deck. Number 14, then, what we would associate with Temperance, and the image is a clear nod to Temperance. Art comes from the Thoth deck, the title. And then we have number 15, which is Old Scratch, and I think this is just Doug being real clever and not calling it the devil. So just a change of title there. And the same thing with number 20, which we normally associate with Judgment in the Rider Waite Smith. Here is called the Aeon. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but that's also very Thoth inspired. Okay, so the Major Arcana, a little bit different, and you can already see that the images, first of all, they're charming for Halloween. Totally charming for Halloween. Again, a nod to the Rider Waite Smith and seeing the Judgment card here, reaching up from the grave, but there's no angel and no trumpet and some of the traditional things we see in Rider Waite. So it may take you just a moment, just a pause to read this deck if you're not super familiar with both systems. Let me show you a couple of my favorite cards. Look at this Queen of Cups. The lighting on her, absolutely so charming, so charming. Look at that. I love the light in the pumpkin and the way that she's looking into the pumpkin. So I think it's a beautiful interpretation of the Queen of Cups. Page of Cups, so cute. And look at the little fish coming out of the pumpkin. I just think she's absolutely darling. So again, if you're a Rider Waite Smith person, these are pretty easy in terms of an interpretation. 4 of Swords. I love this, the vampire in the coffin. All of his images are just so delicious, so well done. And it's really easy to read, I think, in a creative way. It's very thematic. There's a lot of, pumpkins and bats and witches and what have you going on. The 8 of Wands with all of the witches fighting the rooms. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any better than that, right? So I think real easy to interpret in terms of Rider Waite Smith if that's what you are used to. Okay, here's a couple though that are real different and kind of threw me for a loop the first time I saw them. The Ace of Cups. I see the water. I get it. I'm not used to the Ace of Cups having, this is kind of an angry looking pumpkin to me. I'm not used to the Ace of Cups having any kind of negative energy associated with it for me. I realize all cards have their challenges. They have their strengths. But this isn't what I'm used to seeing for cups. And the aces aren't really clear to me in this deck like they are in the Rider Waite. So it will take you just a moment to breathe it in and see what's going on before you read it. Here, the Ace of Swords. Hot air balloon, so I get the air association, and I think that's great. But again, at first glance, it looks more like pentacles to me just because it's the big round pumpkin. That's all. So again, it takes just a moment to understand these cards. And here we have the Five of Pentacles, and again, it takes a little bit. Do you see the number up here in the corner? It's a little bit difficult to see at first. So it's going to take a pause to read. The Pentacles is really clear. The titles are really clear at the bottom, but the numbers are a little bit hidden, I think, at first. And it took me a little bit to understand this image at first. The pumpkin obviously is not smiling, is somewhat distressed, and the city behind him, it looks like everything that's happening in the background is not available to him, and there's that concern, right? But again, not an exact Rider Waite clone. Here, the Three of Wands, this one took me a lot longer to embrace because I thought, well, what does this have to do with Rider Waite Smith at all? It's a beautiful apothecary. It's a wonderful image. There's lots of choices. First glance, I thought, well, this must be the Seven of Cups. And then I realized, no, it's the Three of Wands. So I really have to sit and think a little bit about what it is we're releasing to the world. And of course, if you go to an apothecary, we might be pulling from all these different things, right? We might be pulling from all of these different drawers to create a magical potion, but it's going to take us just a minute before the potion comes into our existence, much like with the Three of Wands, when you have to let something go and know that your work is going to come back to you in a really successful way. So again, a nod to Rider Waite, but it's really not obvious. Here's another one that was difficult for me at first, the Two of Swords. Let me put that in closer to the camera so you can kind of see it. All the little imps around there, and then this witchy figure with her cross on the top of the building, and the bats flying around. And so this one again, and look at the pumpkin in the background here, and he's just kind of all this fog all around it. So a little bit about things that are not necessarily clear. Is she jumping? What is she doing? I'm not quite sure. So again, this is one of the ones that didn't resonate with me immediately. It wasn't one that I pick up on quickly. So I do want to show you next how I use these cards in a reading. If you know my style, or if you watched my videos, you know that I read intuitively as well as using the foundation of Rider Waite Smith. That's my primary modality, my primary system that I like to use. So I'm going to show you how these work in a reading. The one thing that I'm not super fond of is that they're difficult to read. So when you get them out, the images don't pop like a Rider Waite Smith, or even like if you saw my review on the Halloween Tarot, the images just pop. They're a little bit easier to see. When we come to a theme deck, of course, we're going to have that, right? You're going to have a little bit different. You're going to have to pause just for a moment to see what's going on. But of course, if you apply your Rider Waite Smith meanings, I don't think you're going to have any problems. The cards aren't going to fight you when it comes to that, okay? So I want to show you how it reads next. Hang there with me. Okay, first, let me just show you again what I'm talking about, this beautiful cardstock, okay? It's real supple. It's absolutely resilient. You can see how it is. If you've had any of Doug's other decks, I mean, it's very similar to Tinker's Dam. It slides beautifully, even though it's matte finish. It doesn't stick together. And I'll show you my riffle shuffle as well. If you'll hold on one second, here we go. You're going to see it's pretty easy to do. Okay, it bends really easily. And it even bridges beautifully. Okay. So if you like to do the riffle and the bridge, you're going to have no problem with this. And at the same time, I want to show you that even though I've done that, they still are holding their shape absolutely beautifully. Okay, so let me come back in just a minute and do the reading for you. Okay, so as you can see, I've laid out just an introductory reading for you. I have chosen the High Priestess as a representation for the audience here, but she did show up in the reverse position. So again, I wonder, because this happens to us a lot in this particular community, I think we doubt ourselves too much when it comes to tarot reading, healing, being a light worker, many, many times we hold ourselves back, or alternately, we let too much go into the world and we're not protecting ourselves. So when she comes up reversed for me, I really feel like it's probably time to protect yourself a little bit more, but also to really get in touch with and know your strengths and know when to hold back and when to release your secrets to the world. Okay, so I asked what was going on as it relates to your world right now, and here's what I receive. And again, I want you to see these gorgeous images. First of all, yummy, yummy. Don't they look like Halloween? I love them. But instantly it's just a little difficult to tell, I think, what each of the cards is. Not the quartz. The quartz are real obvious because they have these beautiful titles on the bottom. Okay. But the minors, and let me just turn that around, the pips, I'm sorry. This is actually the 9 of Cups. And when I saw it reversed, I immediately thought, oh, 7 of Cups, because I saw cups and then I saw all these choices around her head and immediately thought, oh, it's got to be the 7 of Cups. But then, of course, upon further inspection, you can see it's actually sitting much like it is in the 9 of Cups with all of her wonderful things that she has lined up behind her, all of her self-satisfaction. So what's going on for us right now and the energy that I'm picking up right now from these particular decks is I'm going to combine these 2 cards for you, the Queen of Wands and the King of Pentacles. So there's a whole bunch of confidence and knowingness and knowing what it is you stand by. And the King of Pentacles, of course, is that whole mastery of your resources. So the mastery of your resources comes from what you stand by and putting it out into the world in a really confident way. However, you've got the 9 of Cups reversed, which means that I don't think that you are fully recognizing or fully feeling like the skills and the talents that you have are fully formed. You're not sure if you want to share them with the world. Sometimes when this shows up upside down, I really feel, or reversed, I really feel like this is a selfish card. So this is you having so much to offer the world right now. And then, of course, we got the High Priestess reversed and we get the 9 of Cups reversed, which says to me that right now, though you have something you stand by and you have ability to really create great wealth with it, to manage your resources well, to create even a business from what you stand by, you're not feeling it right now. You don't trust yourself. You don't value what you have to offer, or let's put it this way, you certainly question what it is you have to offer. So the High Priestess, when she comes up reversed like that, feels very much like you give yourself away for free. How many of you doing free readings, free healing sessions, giving away free advice, and then feeling completely drained? Look at all those cups upside down and you are feeling drained. So though you have great mastery and nurturing skills, you know what you stand by, you have the resources to make this happen and have it be a really good business and create prosperity for you, you're not trusting it and you're giving too much away right now. Okay, so I hate to leave you without advice, so if you hold on 1 second, I'm going to shuffle and I'll be right back to give you some advice. Okay, I'm back. And let me just show you, I did a really simple spread for you. This is, sometimes I call it the stoplight spread, but this is what to go and do, and this is what to consider stop doing in order to have the dream of taking your confidence, what you stand by, and creating prosperity from it for yourself. And then this is just our obstacle. So the first thing I want to point out in reading the Trick or Tarot deck is, you can see it's visually outstanding, really, really appealing. It's just very thematic, and I think the images are absolutely well done and really gorgeous. But it's not immediately obvious what we have going on here, is it? And usually when I read intuitively, I like to see motion and I like to see how things progress through the cards, and it's a little bit more difficult to tell first because we just have a lot of pumpkins going on. Visually, things don't stand out as much as in other decks. For instance, this little head does stand out, but what does he mean? Okay, so let me show you how I will go ahead and read it. So I take it a little bit slower with this. Here's what to go and do, and we've got 13 reversed. Okay, so this is a Major Arcana. This is the Death card, and I really feel like whatever your dream is, whatever it is that you desire to do and to create prosperity with, I don't want you to let go of that idea. Don't let it die. Don't let this be the end. Just because you're feeling a little uncertainty, just because you're feeling drained, just because you've given things out there to people and you haven't had the same value come back to you, I don't want you to become bitter, and I don't want you to become resentful about it, okay? So this is what to go do. Don't let your idea die. Keep it alive. I absolutely love this. And this is what not to do. Stop beating yourself up. It's the Ten of Swords. Please stop being so critical of yourself. Over and over and over again, you beat yourself up as it relates to your light. Look at this beautiful light. You actually do have some beautiful light to allow up out of that grave. Remember we said don't let it die? Because you still have light yet. We are not ready to close this coffin, okay? But stop beating yourself up. Stop being so critical about everything you do. And stop having paralysis by analysis. When you keep thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, and not taking action on it, you are doubting yourself and you are living in fear. And living in fear is not the way to release your light into the world, okay? Because you tend to hold yourself back. So do not beat yourself up, but don't let your idea end, okay? I want you to take that out with you into the world. And here's what seems to be your obstacle. And it's the Ten of Cups, which I think is all about saying, you know, I wish I could just have it now. I want my happily forever after. I don't necessarily want to work for it. I just want to feel fulfilled. And the thing is, you've got, in order to be the Queen of Wands, you actually have to take action. You have to take action on what you're doing. So you have to step out there. And even if you're feeling fear, it's kind of a thing where you have to do it anyway. Sorry to say, because it's really hard to do. I know. I'm in the same boat with you. But you have to go forth and do it anyway. And what stands in your way is saying, well, the gold is over the rainbow. I'll be happy when. I'll be happy if. I'll be happy when my business is settled, when I can offer my stuff to the world and people recognize me and they aren't draining me and they welcome me into their lives, okay? But just sitting around thinking about it, daydreaming about it, is actually your obstacle to what's standing in the way. And notice you have a 10, 10, and 13. Transformation, and death. Okay? So, transformation, allowing yourself to transform your thoughts into something else, doing it in a way that completely fulfills you, that is what gives you a brand new start. Okay? But you can't block these. You have to allow the transition to happen for you. You have to just kind of walk right into the dark forest, and even though it's scary and the flying monkeys are going to be coming at you, as long as you take action, even if it's just tiny steps going forward, one little itty bitty step at a time, remove one sword out of this coffin at a time, and you are going to move forward and you are going to transform. And I know this because we have all 10s and a 13. At the root then, what I have is the Page of Cups reversed. So please don't let your imagination get the best of you. Please don't daydream about how releasing your gifts and your stuff into the world is actually going to work against you rather than for you. Let's turn this one right side up and let's be a student of our intuition. Let's be a student of all that we are compassionate, our empathy, our beautiful psychic gifts in this world. And at the same time, become a messenger of all that you are. Okay? That's my advice for you. That's my reading with the Trick or Treat Halloween Tarot. I hope you can see what I'm talking about here. The beautiful, gorgeous images, the way that they speak to you. I think they're very deep and very soulful, as Doug's decks always are. But give yourself the time to pause and consider the images and then weave your story through. Okay, it might take you a little minute because it's not as obvious as Rider Waite right on the surface, but I'm going to tell you it's worth your time. You can go back and dig through the layers here and pull things up from the grave that you might not have otherwise seen. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I'll put a link to Doug's Trick or Tarot deck in my review. I highly recommend it. It's absolutely charming, hauntingly beautiful, and as always, creatively genius. All right, thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you soon.